Hello and welcome to 10 Minute Takes. This is not a review, but a Bohemian Rhapsody discussion. The way we like to do things here is that we like to give a recommendation first, and then from the recommendation, our discussion stems from that. I don't know what Sam's going to say. She doesn't know what I'm going to say. So Sam, you ready to give our recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. So, 3, 2, 1. See it! This movie is so good. But, have you seen it? And did you like it? If you did, if you haven't seen it, are you excited to see it? And before you answer any of that, we want to know what's your favorite Queen song. And you can't cheat. You can't say Bohemian Rhapsody.
Aww.
No, you can't say Bohemian Rhapsody. You can't say Another One Bites the Dust and We Will Rock You. Those are the easy answers. Give us something different. So we'll answer the question at the end of the episode. I got mine picked out. I think Sam's got hers.
Yes.
So with that said, let's just jump into the discussion. So, Bohemian Rhapsody. This is the biopic of Queen. This film is literally self-explanatory. It's a biopic of Queen. It's from the inception of the band all the way up to... It essentially goes up to the Live Aid performance, which is one of the most famous rock performances of all time. And it's absolutely spectacular. But a lot of people know the story of Queen. So, we're not going to rehash the story of Queen. Platinum albums, all that stuff. I want to talk about, in this film, who was your favorite character? Did you have a favorite actor in this film? And I don't want you to pick Freddie Mercury, because you can't pick Rami Malek, because that's just taking the easy way out. He's the main character. Everyone loves Rami Malek in this film. He's obviously the star. But do you have someone other than Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury as your favorite actor in this film?
I did. I actually really liked the drummer.
You took mine!
No!
That was mine! Yes! He's just the best character outside of Freddie Mercury, because I feel like him and Freddie's relationship was the one that pretty much grew the most in this film. It was kind of tumultuous at times, which is what made them interesting. Before I jump all over that, why did you like the drummer in particular?
I just thought he was classically funny. He was entertaining. He was a really good singer. I know that all of them were all an independent part of the band, which made him so great, is that there was really no leader. Just because Freddie Mercury was the lead singer, he didn't seem to himself to be the leader of the band. So I thought it was really cool that for some reason the drummer really resonated well with me. I just thought he was kind of like the co-partner in the band, and he's kind of the one that when they were going through a hard time, he kind of brought them together, but at the same time, he also kind of like messed that up and like created that drama between them that all of the other band members had to like put back together.
I would actually have a rebuttal where I actually think it was Brian May was the co-partner. Even though they would never admit it, they were kind of seen as the two leaders of Queen. But Brian May was always the one that was sort of there with Freddie. He was the one that told Freddie at the end, it's like, hey, can you give us a minute alone? And Freddie's like, okay. And then everyone else is like, why do you kick Freddie out of the room? He goes, I don't know. I just wanted to mess with him.
That was really good.
But as Queen and Freddie, they all put it, they were all four parts of a whole. No one was over the other. You know, right. Freddie's vocals was an instrument just like the guitar was, but Freddie's vocals weren't more important than the guitar.
Mm-hmm. You see that throughout the entire film, and that's what makes it so good. Is at the end, one thing that you take away is that if you have a group of people like that, just stick together, and you're gonna go through rough times, but you're always gonna find each other at the end. Like they really were a family, like they always were saying. And even though they had their rough patches, they always came back at the end, and they were just together, and they were Queen.
So for me, Roger was my other favorite character in this film outside of Freddie, because I felt like Roger's character, he grew the most with Freddie. So like Brian and Freddie always had a mutual respect for one another, but Roger always gave Freddie kind of a hard time. So like the first time we meet Roger, he tells Freddie, like, you can't be in our group, not with those teeth. Like he's the one that made fun of Freddie. He's the one that was sort of like, was at odds with Freddie throughout the film. There's even a portion of the film where they almost come into a fist fight with one another. But at the end of the film, he's the first one to say, Freddie, you're a legend. And that came full circle for his character, where he went from, you can't be a part of this band because you're not with those teeth, to being, he's the first one in the band to step up and say, you're a legend, Freddie. it's an important character moment, and that's the reason why Roger was, to me, my favorite character outside of the Freddie Mercury character.
So what did you think of the film being mostly music? I felt like it was just an entire 2 hours of a Queen's concert. With always music all the time. How did you feel about that?
I actually like that because so how the film unfolds is like they record an album, they go on tour. They record an album, they go on tour. They record an album, they go on tour. And there's actually a scene that references like that rotation that they go through towards the end of the film when there's some drama that happens between the band where Freddie's like, aren't you tired of making an album and going on tour? Don't you want to do something different? At that point, the film kind of shifts. It's like it becomes like self-aware that that's what the film is doing. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the film then takes a turn to then, give us sort of a good section of character drama. And I really appreciated that when that happened. But it's like Queen's music is just so good and so catchy. Like there's a reason why they were a great concert band.
I know. Okay, so going into this movie, I never really was a fan of Queen. I knew Queen's from their basic music, like Bohemian Rhapsody, We Are Champion. So like I knew those. Yeah, I knew Queen's
songs that you're not allowed to say are your favorites.
I know. I gotta take a step back there. No, I walked away from this. Being a Queen's fan.
Mm-hmm. The film's quickly paced, and with that said, I feel like I do have an answer for my own question. That there is a question that I want to ask you. Is there anything that this movie did that you think could have done differently, or is there anything the film could have done to have maybe been better?
I don't know.
I wish there was something the film was more definitive on.
Yeah.
And for me, the beginning of the film, from the inception of the band to when they start working on A Night at the Opera, which is the album that has Bohemian Rhapsody on, A Night at the Opera was their 4th album.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either because I had been talking with you today and I was talking with you about how I thought that this was a great film about their first album, but it wasn't. So yeah. I didn't know that, and I would never have known that if you hadn't had researched that. So I think that it kind of gave you the wrong impression of the band. Like you thought that the band was just starting out as Queens and doing Night at the Opera, even though the album before is really what made them so popular.
Yeah, because the album before had Queen Killer on it. Mm-hmm. And that album is never really touched on in the film. It's very much glossed over, and it wasn't. I never realized, and the film to me didn't make it a point that they had 2 albums that came out the year before they did A Night at the Opera.
It also seemed like the Night at the Opera is where the stem of the band's drama came in. So I think that that's where they started having their arguments, and they didn't ever really like break up because they did get back together after a short time. But that's really what started the ball rolling with Freddie understanding who he was as a person and everybody, and he wanting to kind of branch off on his own. And I think the core of where those feelings came from was from their time doing this album. So I think that's why they chose this album to do this movie on.
Yeah, of the making of the albums, Night at the Opera is the one that's the most focused, even though it does happen a little earlier in the film. But with that said, the rest of the film I thought was fantastic. What was your favorite part of the movie?
When they were singing the background to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh,
and they were like all in there, and he's like, higher, higher, higher. And he's like, who is it? What is it?
Who is Galileo?
Who is Galileo?
Yeah, he's putting Roger through the paces, singing Galileo.
And he's like continuously singing it, and he's like, higher, higher, higher. And he's like, who is Galileo anyways?
Yeah.
I thought that was fun.
My personal favorite, I guess it's a cop-out because I'm breaking my own rules. Live Aid was my favorite part of the film. It left you on such a high.
You set these rules and you wrote your own rules? What kind of person are you?
I know. But Live Aid, if you're coming to this film for the Live Aid section, and it sets it up, the film opens with like a tease of Live Aid and then it flashes like 20 years before. Mm. But if you're coming for Live Aid, they don't skimp on Live Aid. It's there.
It's there and it's proud. It's a good section.
Yeah, it's pretty much It's move for move, a recreation of Live Aid. Rami Malek absolutely owns it. And they just rocked the house. We saw it in IMAX, and it was spectacular.
I'm so happy we saw it in IMAX.
Oh, so good.
This is like one movie where you want to pay for prime IMAX, anything that you can get into, because the loudness, and then you really feel like you were in these concerts, and that's what I took most away from this film, was that I felt like I just went to a Queen's concert.
Yeah. Now, there's just one thing I just want to address. It's not a question or anything, but some people are getting the impression from what I'm reading that they shy away from Freddie's sexuality in the film, and they don't. His relationships is very much front and center. They also lean really heavily into the Mariel relationship, which I liked a lot, because she also became his best friend. Now, answering our own question, favorite Queen song outside of the ones I said you couldn't pick, what's your favorite?
My favorite was You're My Best Friend.
Really? I thought you were going to pick Love of My Life?
Radio Gaga! Radio Gaga. Radio Goo Goo. Radio Gaga.
I was leaning towards that. No, I was leaning towards it.
It was You're My Best Friend, Radio Gaga. I listened to this all day. Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That's up there.
That's a classic. Choose one.
Yeah, I feel like that's like too classic. Like, I need something like, you're making me steer away from the classic, so I'm going to find something. So I found something. Oh, I do like... Ooh. I did like... what is it called?
You're My Best Friend's fine. That's...
You can't make my decisions for me.
You said it.
Yeah, but I'm backtracking here. Let me backtrack. Yeah, it's You're My Best Friend.
All right.
Fine, what's yours?
Mine is 39 from A Night at the Opera. I listened to that on repeat. I love that song. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. That's my personal favorite outside of their streamlined mainline songs. So, all right. That was our discussion on Bohemian Rhapsody. Personally, one of my favorite films of the year. I actually want to see it again. I'd go see this in a theater again. It'd be
only if we see it in IMAX.
It would be the first non-superhero film that we would see more than once in a theater this year if we see it again. But I would actually really like to see it again. The theater experience was spectacular. I really enjoyed it.
I would see it again. We can go see it again.
So, all right. That was it for our discussion on Bohemian Rhapsody. What did you think? Did you love the film? Are you looking forward to the film? Are you super excited to see it? I know some critics are being kind of harsh with it. I don't know why. Hopefully, if you haven't seen it and you've watched this, hopefully we've reaffirmed your belief in that this is actually a really fun, good film. And if you have seen it, did it hit all the beats that you wanted it to hit for a Queen biopic? It did for me. It did for Sam. So, anyways, with that, let us know what you thought in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you like this video and want to see more. We are doing the Nutcracker right after this. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. See you next time, guys.